Hello there, it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee, and today what I want to do is just make some unicorns. I know, sad lonely life I lead. So basically, yes, we're going to draw a horse. Yeah, that's all it is, isn't it really? Looks a bit more like a dog. Yeah, let's start again. Just ignore that. So we've got that sort of shape, and then we've got the ears, which we'll sew on separately, the horn, which we'll sew on separately, and then the body and 4 legs. Okay, so the pieces we need, we'll use this as the side pattern, and we're going to have a panel of long fur along here. I think we can go with hairy hooves. We like hairy hooves. Okay, technically, I think there should be a hairy chin and a hairy tail, so that's easy enough. So, and the horn, I'm going to use my Halloween fabric. I'm going to cut some new fabric. Yes, anyone that knows me will hate that I hate cutting fabric, or I hate breaking in new pieces of fabric. So, what does this need to be? Okay, when you're cutting long fur especially, what you can do is you can literally just cut the fabric. You don't need to cut the actual fluff. So you can just sort of slide your scissors underneath there. And yeah, it's all good. And it just saves so much fluff. So for the mane, what I need is a strip lengthways, because I want the mane to go long fur down. And it is a bit more difficult because it's quite easy to cut and lean on the table. I was going to say floor then. So, that's the length of the mane, going lengthwise. And it probably doesn't need to be quite that long. So I'm going to cut that in half. That's grand. I need feathery foots going round like that. So, and probably that length, and I'm going to need 4 of these. I have got more fur. I made, well, a hedgehog actually, and I had this left over, so I wanted to use this bit up. Okay, and then for the hairy chin, because it's got to have a hairy chin, I just want a triangle. So that's grand. Put onto the side. And we need another foot. Okay. And we need the foot going downwards as well. And it is a case of just keeping an eye on your now. I suppose technically what I'm supposed to do is attach these on and then have a circle at the bottom, just so I can keep them quite flary. So I can do that, and I know they're slightly different lengths. Oh, I haven't done a tail either, have I? It's quite important. And I'm going to make sure I keep those separately, because I don't want the after I've gone through all that trouble, I don't want suddenly my mane to start going left to right. Okay, so a tail is a slightly larger rectangle, and yes, in nature things are rectangles. It's you know, once you've discovered the basic shapes to draw a horse, then it's not that difficult to draw any type of animal. So that's grand. I'm just going to sew that up, turn it inside out. Now, anyone that's sewn fur will know that it is fiddly, you know, in a way it's best to make animals as big as possible. So out of this I'm going to need my 2 templates of the zebra, and I need 2 ears and I need a horn as well. So I'm going to switch the camera off and just get the main body pattern cut out. Alright. Okay, what I didn't say was I'm going to make it triangular, so I've cut out 2 bottom legs as well. This is just so that it gives it a bit more structure, because otherwise it's all 2-dimensional. Now, first things first, we've got to sew the bits together so that we can sew on to the main body. It's just, that's a good place to start. So these are my little ears, and I'm going to sew it all in black, just so that you can see the stitches. Oh, I didn't like that at all. And then now the best needle to use is a ballpoint needle, and what it does is it just pushes the fabric away, because this is quite difficult to cut through for the needle. So there we go. And I've got my 2 V's here just for the horn. And that's all they are, they're just V's, or, well, it's a bit lopsided actually. Now, yes, I suppose small stitches is a good way to go. And believe it or not, there is a right side and a wrong side to this fabric. Just found that one out. So I'm going to turn them around so that the inside is the right sides are together. So now I haven't adjusted the stitch to do this, although obviously there's a lot of difference between the thickness of the 2 fabrics. So, and I did that for a reason. It's so that I've got a little bit of puckering, a little bit of a ribbon, and that should just make it a bit more distinctive. And there's going to be a lot of turning inside out here as well. Now I've got a little bent pencil, which is great, and I can use that. Okay, so now I'm going to sew my tail together. So I'm going to need the fur on the inside, and I'm going to push in, when I'm doing, especially the long fur, I'm going to push in as much as the fabric as I can. Okay, so I'm coming to the bottom. And I am going to stitch it up. I don't really need to. I'm not going to put any stuffing in the tail. And what I did then was I swept in again as much as the fabric as I could. So the tail and the horn are finished. Now the next job for me to do is to turn all these inside out, which I can do off camera. So I'm going to keep them out of the way, because otherwise I'm just going to push them onto the floor. And my next job is to sew up my legs. Now this is so that I can get them ready for sewing on my hoofy bits. So what I've got is right side to right side, and I have a V bit just to connect to the head. So let's sew this together. I'm going to start with them joining together as well. to leave that bit open. Yeah, this is a bit of an optional extra, I must admit. It might be a bit tricky. It's going to be fiddly. Okay, so there we are, and then all I need to do is I need to open out my leg. I need to take one of my fluffy fetlocks, and then I need to fold it over so, you know, the thread is going down, and then I need to sew this together. Now sometimes when you are sewing thick bits, you can get it so that it pushes your foot up. If your foot is up, even though it's sewing, do put the foot down, even though it's not going to stay down, because otherwise you disconnect your bobbin. Lovely. So I need to do that on all these. So, and then I'll switch the camera back on and we can start putting all the bits together. Alright. Hello there. Okay, so what I've got now is I've got my side with my feet, and I've turned my feet inside out now because it's tricky. And I've got two of these. So, and I've got all my bits as well. I've got my tail and everything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start sewing on just to one of the sides all these little extra bits. So I've got my chin hair here, because unicorns have hairy chins, and I've cut it into a V shape. Sorry, I cut it in originally to a V shape, but what I actually need it is in a sort of diagonal shape, so that I can sew it back in. And yeah, it doesn't matter which side, and I don't suppose it matters if you put them all on one side or not. I think we should put them all on one side. Now the same with the mane. I don't need it as a square, I need it as a V shape. So let's whoosh all those hairs up there, because I don't want to waste them. And I want to be able to sew them back in flat, so I'm just going to knock these corners off. So, yes. So yes, the mane goes on, and we need it sweeping down the body. And I think we put the ears on. So I'm going to put one ear in. Now these need to be pointing downwards so that we can then have them on the right side. So everything that's on the inside is going to be on the outside. Now obviously I'm going across the hem of the ears and then I'm going across the two levels of fabric. So yeah, the machine's going to make funny noises. I may need to shout just so I'm heard. But then again, although it's quite a fat amount of cloth, it's actually quite, it's like cutting butter really, isn't it? You may be doing very thick amounts, but you're actually only cutting something that's quite easy. Okay, sorry about this. I go through stages. Every time I do a major sew, I always do like a couple of bobbins, and then I know it's not that much, but I never like throwing away a bobbin cloth. I never like undoing them. So there we are, we've got the hair on the chin and we've got the mane on. So all we need to do now is sew this together, and I'm going to start, oh. Okay, so I've got my head. I'm going to start at the beginning of the other head. So why are these telling me? Yes, that's fine. Do you know, I just had a mini panic attack then, that I'd managed to get two the same side. But we know, because we folded it when we cut it, didn't we? So, lovely. I'm now sewing my head in, and I'm joining it from the join at the bottom, because I actually want the seam at the belly. So I'm coming over my chin now, and I'm just going over the point there. And any loose hair I'm going to try and fold in, just to make life a bit easier for myself. Now I finished sewing my chin in, so now I have to join the two heads together. So I'm coming around the front of the head, and it's up to you whether you put a bit of stuffing in your unicorn horn or not. I think it looks fine, so I'm going to stuff my unicorn horn in, which I say so often. And when I've come across the top of my unicorn horn, I'm going to leave the needle down. What I need to do is I need to tuck the first ear out of the way. I then need to put the second ear in, so they'll be level, and then I need to start sewing the mane. So now I'm going across 6 layers again, so I'm just pushing it through. Now anyone that's sewn fabric fur will know that it stretches really easy, so you do have to take a little bit of care. I'm just pushing in the floofy bits of my mane, and I'm just coming nearly off the mane. So now that's all in. Okay, and now I'm back on the body. Now, yeah, I turned my legs inside out. That's only because I actually thought that it might be too much, the legs. So I thought, well, before I decide, what I'll do is I'll turn them inside out. So I've got a bit more to tuck in, but that's fine, you know, that's just me. Now the tail literally goes between the centre seam of the rump, and just lifting the foot up and putting the foot down just to get it styled. And this is quite thick, so I do have to make sure that my bobbin doesn't disconnect. Now I'm just coming up to the last bit of, that's it. So what I now have is, let me just turn it inside out quickly for you, is everything where it should be. And I have this huge seam in the middle, so what I'm probably going to do is make this seam just a bit smaller by sewing it up slightly. It's really up to you. It depends how much you like hand sewing. I think I might as well, because it is the whole of the underbelly. Now when you're doing this, you have to make sure that you haven't got like the end of an ear or something caught up. Okay, so let's get him around the right way. Looks a bit odd, doesn't it? I'll just pull out his mouth with his chin hair. he's going to need eyes as well, and he's going to need stuffing. So, yeah, but we can get that done, can't we? I'm just going to pause in for a minute and, yeah, get the stuffing ready. His tail doesn't go down a bit. When I stitch up his bottom, I'm going to just put a couple of pinks in the tail. Okay, bear with me. Hiya. Okay, so I have everything I need here, and first things first, I'm going to start at one end and work my way down, I think. Who knows? So what I'm doing is I'm starting a hole for the eyes. Now I'm just using children's safety eyes. There's all sorts of things you can use. You can use little buttons, you can even embroider it. It really depends on you. And all you need to do is cut a couple of threads just to get it started. Some of them are even a bit sharp as well, so you can literally just push it through. And then I have a little washer and I'm going to pop on. So, and it goes with a nice healthy click, which is always reassuring. Now, let's just line up the other eye. Always tricky. And then I'm just going to make a little start. I'm going to place the eye where I want it, so you can see that I've pushed a little dimply bit out, yeah? Now, and then I'm just going to, because you don't want it too big, because you don't want the eyes falling out, and when you're cutting fur, you're not exactly sure whether you're cutting the fluff or you're actually cutting the fur. And, okay. So I also have here a tapestry needle. Now this is the best thing for pulling the fur out. So literally just, even though I tried to fold it, I've still got some on the seam. So, and especially on these feet, I'm going to need to just go in like that, give it a wiggle and pull out as much as I can of this fluff, so I've got that look of hairy fetlocks. Where I keep going out of shot. Sometimes I can't actually see the screen very well. Sometimes I can, obviously. So, yeah. Okay, so I need to go through that. Now, the stuffing I'm going to use is pillow stuffing. You can buy hollow fibre, special bounce as well, and everything else like that. And it really depends what you can get a hold of. I don't... you know, if you're really lucky, you have an excellent fabric shop in the village, as it were, then you can get hold of these things. But not everybody can, you know, they're on their demise, aren't they, these craft stores. So, yes, and literally, however you're happy, you know, if you want him overstuffed, then you can do. Although, because he's such a basic pattern, I think we're better off having floppy. And I'm not even going to attempt to stuff his legs, so. And there is a bit of the fold over of the seams, so they have got a bit of rigidity. But a nice floppy, soft unicorn is what I'm going for. So now that I've got the stuffing in, and this is white, it's really weird, but against the snow white of the unicorn, it looks terribly dirty. Isn't it? Is that weird? I never knew. Okay, so I've got a needle and thread here, and I'm just going to hand stitch these. I could run it through the sewing machine. If it was, you know, there's no trouble in this at all. It just naturally sort of rolls in, and then I'm just going to run a line of stitches across there. So, in fact, what I'm going to do is, just so that we can see him, I'm just going to do it quite quickly now. Okay, so what I've done is I'm stitching probably 1.5 inches each stitch, and it is holding in place enough to get a sort of picture of him. And then I can, should have done the tail first and then left it there, shouldn't I? Okay, so what I'm going to do with the tail, because it sort of sticks out like that, And horses' tails don't do that, so unicorns' tails won't do that, will they? I'm just literally going to pull it apart and pull it down, and then I've got just a tiny stitch there. So the only way I can describe it is like a duck's beak. Yeah, have I got a scrappy bit of paper? You'd think I would, wouldn't you? So yes, I've got my tail like that, so I've pulled it apart, and then I'm just literally doing a couple of stitches just to pull it down. So, and he'll look better for it. And of course he'll look a lot better when I've taken my tapestry needle and I've pulled that out. Okay, so pretty much that is a finished unicorn. I'll put the pattern on Facebook. I'm going to improve it slightly because I made the legs far too thin, and it's almost like I made a rod for my own back. But yeah, I'm really happy with them. Okay, thank you ever so much for watching. My name's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee, and at the moment I'm doing daily videos, so try and catch me again. Thanks ever so much for watching.